looked like he must have been 7 or 8 years old, and a third image of them entering their home. It had not changed so much in all the years. "Stop," he shouted to his brain. "I do not want to see these pictures." He felt dizzy. "Stop spinning," he shouted in his mind to the room. But nothing halted. Instead, the photographs kept appearing faster and faster, like items emerging from a magician's hat, becoming almost a moving film. His mother enters the house wordlessly, the door never locked. Saurabh yanks himself free and runs away. She goes to her room with Vivek beside her and opens the bedroom door. Father was naked, his face twisted, a blanket covering his lower body, his back exposed. Uma Devi, their maid, was moaning, mother standing still on the door, and his father turned towards her. The maid stopped making any sound and tried to hide her face. Father got up from the bed, the blanket loosely wrapped around his lower body, his face thunderous, his lips ugly and distorted, rage in his eyes. "Motherfucker," he shouted to his wife, who was silently standing at the doorway. Father lifting his hands. "Stop the photos," begged Vivek to his mind. He put his hands to his eyes and was surprised to see his face covered with tears. He had not wept for years now, barring the one night when he was drunk after Antara had destroyed him. The pace of the movie caught speed, and Vivek could see images in a blur. His father slapped his mother on the cheek. She cowered like a stray dog. Vivek started crying, and his father yelled at him, "Stop crying, you son of a bitch." The maid gathered some clothes and slinked away. His mother pushed Vivek behind her, but he continued to cry. She was whimpering but did not let out a sound. His mother took him to his room and tried to put him to sleep. She pulled out the blanket over, and through his tears, Vivek saw the blurry picture of him falling asleep with his mother beside him. Vivek sighed and rose from his couch. "I need a fucking cigarette." Quietly, he slipped out of the hospital. The air outside was frigid and attacked the bones. There was a fog that made it seem heavy and foreboding. The bright tube light signage of the hospital seemed jarring. The darkness seemed welcoming. And Vivek's thoughts went back to the hitman. "I will be waiting for you, Brahman, in 35 days. He reached the banks of the Ganges, which flowed placidly in a distance, and he saw them enjoying the view. They seemed like local tourists. The child pulled out a chocolate bar and started to open it. He threw the bright cover towards the river of its lungs, as though it had taken a deep inhalation and held its breath, and Vivek thought he was being suffocated, and he choked. Acid rose in his throat and he felt dizzy. He closed his eyes and held onto the sides of the couch to steady himself, and then looked again, hoping what he had seen was his imagination. On the wall were two paintings, abstract art, replicas of the ones he had seen at the Brahman Bar the night he met the hitman. He peered at them, furrows in his brow, 1,000 clicks in his brain at the same time, a fear of rush in his heart. A rush of fear in his heart. The paintings looked back at him mockingly, as though they knew he despised them. He fumbled for his cell phone and began to scroll through his contacts. His hands trembling, he located the number he had saved as the hitman and pressed the green call button. The phone rang mercilessly. "Pick up," he yelled mentally to no one. "Pick up the damn phone, answer it, hitman, and reply to my questions. It must be a coincidence," he consoled himself. "I'm overreacting." His mouth was dry, the bile in his throat had subsided, and he drank water copiously to slake it down so his lips were close to the father's ears, and said, "Bauji, it's me, Vivek. I'm here. Do you need anything?" His father did not open his eyes, and Vivek looked at him helplessly, hoping for some response from his father, an acknowledgement that his son was beside him. He was no longer in danger, but was kept for observation for the next 2 days. He rang the bell, and soon a nurse appeared. "Sister," he said respectfully, "when will my father wake up?" "He has been given a sleeping medicine to reduce the pain," she said matter-of-factly. "He will be sleeping most of the time." "I'm going down for a smoke," he said sheepishly, expecting disapproval, but none came. "Will you take care of my father till then?" "Do not worry, we will keep checking on the patients." Vivek stepped out of the hospital, the coolness of the evening, paper cup in one hand and a cigarette in the other. He wondered, do I have less than 40 days more to live? He was glad he had come to visit his family in case his date with the hitman was real. That night, as he lay on the couch, he tried to sleep, wishing he did not have the two paintings staring at him. He tried hard to avoid looking at them, but every now and then his eyes darted towards them. Sanchi had replied, saying Otto was fine, and sent him a picture of the puppy gambolling at the park. He's growing up every day, thought Vivek, staring at the picture tenderly. He scrolled through his messages. He was not used to the screen. Finally, he let out a deep sigh and turned on his side and closed his eyes, hoping that his travel fatigue would overpower his body clock. As soon as he shut his eyes, photos in Polaroid white frames began appearing in random sequences. At first, the pictures were blurry, but they kept getting clearer. There was one of him as a little boy wearing an old hand-me-down shirt and worn-out shorts, throwing stones in the river with Divakar, his only friend from school. The photo was replaced